guys, welcome back to my channel, or if you're new here, my name's Izzy and I'm an amateur orchid grower in Sydney, Australia. I like to grow cool to hot growing orchids in my apartment. So today I've got a little bit of an orchid haul for you guys. I've picked up 11 more orchids over the past 2 weekends, one of which was from the Orchid Central Show in Bankstown out west in Sydney, and the other one was the Australasian Native Orchid Society show in Central Coast, which was predominantly a Sarcochilus show. So the first one to start us off is an orchid that I've been looking for a little while. I actually requested that this grower please bring one down for us to the Orchid Central Show in Bankstown. So this one is from Roland Orchids, which is a grower in Queensland. And this particular species is actually warm to hot growing as far as I'm aware. So this is Dendrobium Canaliculatum or Dendrobium Canaliculatum. I'm never really sure exactly how you pronounce this one, but it is spelt Canaliculatum. Don't know if you can see there. This is also the Papua New Guinea variety, so it is more of a miniature size orchid, which is great because I'm rapidly running out of room in my apartment. So for any of you that are also in a small space, miniature orchids are the way to go. This particular orchid, I believe, is also known as a tea tree orchid, and it grows in tropical northern Queensland or New Guinea as well. I'll show you on a little map here. So there's a map of Australia. You can see it's mainly up tropical North Queensland, New Guinea's over there. So we'll see how I go growing it down here. The main tip that I got from the growers was, with most dendrobiums as well, they do need a period of drought. So no water is to touch this for almost half the year. So I will be growing it outside. I might have to bring it inside during the cooler months, but the deathly combination is wet and cold. You don't want it to be wet and cold, or it will rot and die, and then you'll be very, very sad. Oh, here's my little friend. I'll introduce you to Casper. This is Casper. He's my Tonkinese. He will sort of peek and say hello in the videos from time to time, probably. He's just woken up from his nap. Anyway, yes, very excited to have this one now in the collection. So we'll see how we go. Hopefully in summer it'll get some new growths and hopefully flower. This is also flowering size. I forgot to say, this is flowering size. So very small, very cute. Hopefully can get a flower and hopefully can grow it here in Sydney. I'll try my best. The next orchid that I'd like to show you, I don't actually know if I can pronounce it, but I believe it's Chiloschista Viridiflava. This is one of the really cool leafless orchids. So you can see no leaves, lots of roots, and we have four flower spikes on this baby here. So these orchids are intermediate to warm growers, and they need sort of low to medium light levels. So this one has been living inside at the moment. I will try and figure out whether it needs to go outside, but I'd say predominantly will live inside. It is also mounted and doesn't have any medium on there, so it is watered daily. I did just water it a couple of minutes ago before I started filming, so that's why the roots are so green. This one's flowers are green and white. I believe it might sort of dip into the yellows, but from what I've seen online, they're predominantly green and white. And they are also fragrant, which is a plus. I love a little fragrant orchid. These orchids also come from Thailand, India and Burma, and are apparently fairly easy to grow. So I'll keep you updated with this one. I might take some photos when it's in flower, because I'm very excited to have something cool and a little bit different and also miniature sized. The third orchid and final orchid that I got from Roland Orchids is Cattleya Cernua, or I believe it used to be called Sartylis Cernua or Cernua, however you say it. This is the label, and there he is there. So when I got him, so this one I got the week before last, I have actually, my husband and I did mount it because it does like to dry out relatively quickly. This orchid is native to Brazil, so it is sort of an intermediate to warm grower. And it does like its roots to dry out thoroughly in between watering. So I just find sometimes mounting Cattleyas is a lot better. From what I've done my research on, it means you can still overwater them, but it's more difficult to overwater them. This one likes very bright indirect light, so I've currently got it inside because it's still sort of starting to warm up during the day outside, but we've been getting nice days of mid-20s, mid to low to mid-20s, but also some cooler days in the high teens, which is a little bit too chilly. This one's ideal temperature is between sort of 15 to 33 degrees-ish, I would say. So it's not quite warm enough to have it outside yet. So it's been inside under some bright grow lights on the shelf behind me. Humidity wise, they say 50 to 75% is ideal humidity for this particular orchid. I do have a humidifier up there behind me that you can see is going, and it's currently reading at 67% at the moment. So that's generally where the humidity in my apartment falls day to day, of course with the humidifier, so it is sort of closer to the humidifier than some of the other orchids that don't need as much humidity. This one is also a miniature, which I'm very excited about, and it does have little tiny little red flowers, so this one will be super cute. Also is flowering size at the moment, so hopefully it won't be too long and we might be able to see some blooms from this little guy. This next orchid I'm super excited about. This one is Sartylis Blue Knob, which is a bit of a fun name. You can see, I mean, I have just given it a little bit of water, but you can see the picture there that they've attached. I might attach a picture on the screen that's a little bit better. So this is a primary hybrid of Sarcochilus Hartmannii crossed with Rhincostylus retusa. Primary hybrids in Australia have been, I mean, since I got into orchids, they haven't been that readily available. They're only starting to become a bit more available now. Talking to growers, apparently they used to be really abundant everywhere. You'd go to shows and they were everywhere, and then people sort of didn't buy them as much. Then everyone stopped growing them, and now they're sort of missing in the orchid world in shows. So they're starting to come back. This is from a grower called Hartmannii. He's King's Orchid Nursery in Melbourne. His orchids, his family business is just amazing. He grows really cool stuff, so I always love to support his business and get some things from him. Sartylis Blue Knob isn't one that's super readily available either at the moment. I was following the Facebook group and saw the post for Orchid Central that King's Nursery did, and they only brought something like 6. So we knew we had to get in quick with this one. So we got this one. Apparently they are a little bit of a finicky orchid as well. So we'll see how we go. This one looks, I mean, the growth does sort of look like a bit of a mixture of a Sarcochilus and a Rhincostylus. Apparently they can either take after one or the other of the parents. So some people, the growth habit they report is monopodial and they'll grow kikis like the Sarcochilus do. Other times they'll just stay in a single growth similar to the Rhincostylus, and it is a very slow grower. So be ready to not have one that's going to burst at the seams and need to be repotted and will be huge in 5 seconds. This one will take a longer time. So this one also, it has 2 spikes. One of the spikes I noticed when we got it was fading, and I assume that's because of the change of climate when it's been brought up here for the show. So you can sort of see there, this spike has faded, but there is another spike just on the side here, up here. So hopefully we can get that one to fully mature and to bloom, and we'll be able to see the flowers and everything like that. But apparently, yeah, they're pretty finicky. They don't like too much water, similar to a Sarcochilus. I mean, even Rhincostylus don't really love too much water. So yeah, we'll see how we go. It's in a good mix at the moment though. It's in like some chunky bark, perlite, some lava rock that I can see in there. So, and the roots look pretty happy. So we'll see how this one goes. I'm not going to disturb it while it's growing its spike because I would love it to properly bloom. But we'll see. We'll see how we go. We'll make sure that our growing conditions are good and that it's in the right mix for how much I like to water. Got a couple more things from King's. So one of these is Sarcochilus Falcatus crossed with Spathulatus. So this is another, I believe it's a primary hybrid of 2 Sarcochilus species orchids. Picture's a bit faded. It was laminated, but I've since been watering it and it's gotten water at the sides, so the picture's sort of going, but you can see it's like a lovely green flower. It takes after the shape of the Falcatus, but I believe the color of the Spathulatus, correct me if I'm wrong. It has that really cool lip of the Falcatus that's sort of got a little bit of orangey on there. It's quite curved, looks really cool. So he's also got a spike, I believe, or maybe there's 2 spikes. I can also see that there's some old spikes on there, so it has flowered before. This isn't its first flowering. And this one is mounted sort of semi-mounted. It's in like a mesh pot that they've cut in half and then drilled that into the wood. So it's kind of cool. Kind of will keep its roots a little bit more damp for a little bit longer as opposed to just being mounted. But we'll see how we go. I'll let this one flower as well, and then maybe reassess if we need to do anything with it. But I'd say it looks pretty happy in this mount, so I don't really want to disturb her too much. Also got a similar one. This is Sarcochilus Niveus or Niveus. I still don't know really how you say that one. Crossed with Plect Tridentata. This one was fully in flower when we got it. It now only has one little tiny flower left. I don't know if you can see that little cutie pie there. Very fragrant. Oh, smells like soap. Smells just very clean and sweet and sort of soft. It's not a really sharp scent, which I like. And it's flower. These guys can come in a different range of different colors. This one is sort of like a browny, greeny, pinky type shade, and it does have a nice little white lip predominantly with a bit of orange and some little red flecks on there. So very pretty, very cute. And there's a couple of plants in there. There's two in there. So maybe a little Kiki. I assume it probably grows like that, being Sarcochilus. So we'll see what this one does in the same sort of pot, half mount, half pot setup as the Falcatus cross Spathulatus as well. So yes, very happy with him. Now onto the last thing I got from the Orchid Central Show is something we're almost leaving, and it's something I've seen on other YouTube videos and gone, oh my gosh, I really want that. And I just happened to spot there was only one, and it's in the exact variety that I really wanted as well. So this is Phalaenopsis Cornu-Cervi or Cornu-Cervi. I'm not too sure how people prefer to say that one. And the variety is Cattleya, you can see there. This one is a sequential blooming species Phalaenopsis. All going into species now because I feel like I've got a bit of a handle on some of the hybrids that are a bit easier to care for. So now we're delving into more species. This is the little guy. He's a very cute little red kind of waxy flower. Has a little bit of yellow, a little bit of white in there as well. I was going to say it isn't scented, but you know what? I think I'm just smelling the bark, so don't worry. I don't think it's scented. But yeah, this one's a sequential blooming phal. I do not have any other sequential blooming Phalaenopsis. It currently has 3 spikes on there. So there's 1, 2, 3. This one is about to open with another bud fairly soon as well, which is really exciting. But sequential bloomers mean you get flowers for longer. They just bloom one after the other. Normally there's 1 or 2 flowers maybe open at any one time, I presume. This one on the back of its tag also has 8/21, which I assume maybe was a seedling then, I don't know. Or maybe it was just repotted then. So I don't know. I assume they don't grow super quickly, but it is growing a new leaf. The leaves are also really cool. They're like a nice light green color and then have this dark, almost burgundy stripe in the leaf down the middle. Not sure if you can see that, but really like this one. I have repotted it since I got it because I got it sort of last week. And it was sort of squished. A lot of its long roots were hanging out of the pot as well, which is fine to have some out of the pot, but predominantly you like to keep them all inside to keep them as moist as possible for as long as possible, without them being too water retentive as well. So this one is just in a mix of chunky bark. There's the tiniest little bit of sphagnum moss that I've popped in there as well down the bottom. You can sort of see it's sort of dotted around the pot. It is also in a clear pot that I have melted holes into as well, just for a bit more air circulation in there. And I like to put Phalaenopsis in clear pots so you can actually see the roots and see when they need to be watered, because they often need to be watered if their roots have gone to that silvery tone, but they don't need to be watered like right now. You can see most of the roots are that sort of greeny color. They're nice and hydrated. I can see the sort of areas of condensation inside the pot as well, and that the bark is still like nice and dark, so it's still retaining some of that moisture in there. This one as well, I believe, is actually another warm to hot grower. So I have been keeping it inside. It won't be going outside. I mean, really rarely any Phalaenopsis need to live outside unless you're in a really warm, humid climate. And this one does like a bit higher humidity, like 70% ideally, which is sort of what I've got at the moment. Ideally nothing under, I believe I read it was about 50%. You don't really want it to go too far under that. It likes to be nice and humid. But yeah, in terms of temperatures, we'll see how this one goes, hopefully, because it's inside. I mean, it's not really going to cool down too much. Normally in winter inside, it probably stays around 16 degrees. So cool, fairly mild. We'll see how this one goes. But hopefully, because it's a fowl, she'll be nice and easy. Fingers crossed. Okay, now moving on to what I got at the Australasian Native Orchid Society Sarcochilus fair. I got 4 different sarcs that I'm super excited about. Intergeneric sarcs, no species this time, other than, I mean, the ones that I got from the Orchid Central Fair. But we'll start with the first one. I think we'll go in order of how I picked them up. We got there really early as well, because I know I've learnt now that if you go there like an hour or 2 in, all the good stuff is often gone. You gotta, the early bird gets the worm. So we got there. And also another tip, if you're thinking about getting an orchid and you're pretty sure you want it but you're not 100% sure, pick it up and hold it, because the amount of times I've put things down and then someone else has seen me holding something and they've gone, oh, that must be good, and then taken it. So I've learned to pick up and hold on to things and then purchase them. I mean, don't walk away from the store with it, like pay for it, but if you're looking at the store and looking at other stuff, hold on to one you want and don't just put it down, because it will be snapped up. This one is called Sarc, DUNO, which is down under Native Orchids. That's a nursery. So Sarc DUNO, Nicky's twin Mel, crossed with Sarc Hartmannii, baby BS number 2. And it also says on there this is a plantation grown hybrid. So see if I can get a nice close-up. I might insert some more close-ups on the screen for you as well, because we are wobbling like crazy. But this one is a beautiful purpley dappled spotty one, purple with a bit of yellow, and I just love it. I love the shape. I like the sarcs that have the sort of more round petals as well, but I really prefer these ones, I'd say, over all of them. So that is a super cute one. The next one that we picked up, I just happened to find this because there was a sea of like hundreds of them. Happened to have this one catch my eye, and I thought, I have not seen one that looks quite like this before. So this is called Sarc Joy LP crossed with Gabrielle Shapely Spots. Little cute name. This is the nursery is Mount Beanak Orchids as well. So I mean, there was this Australasian Native Orchid Society had a range of different ones from a range of different growers. Also really reasonably priced. If you want to get reasonably priced orchids, the big shows, they often mark them up a little bit more, particularly if they're in Sydney or in the Central Coast. They're often marked up a bit more in the big shows, but this one was this was in the Central Coast as well, but held at a small nursery at Narara Valley Nursery, I believe it's called. Everything was really cheap. Like this orchid I got for $10. The one I just showed you was $15. They were all sort of $10, $15, $20 maximum, so really affordable, and I could have bought so many more but tried to be somewhat restrained. So this one's flowers, nice and white with little red spots, tiny bit of yellow on the lip as well. Has sort of like a Falcatus almost looking lip, which is really cute, but again, love the shape of that one. And then the last two, this one's slightly similar to some of the orchids, some of the sarcs, the hybrids that I have, but it's just got much nicer shape and much more well-defined spots on there. This is Sarcochilus Kulnura Berry Clown. So you can sort of see here. Really nice, really vigorous looking one by the looks of it. Also, all of these ones are potted really nicely in the mix that I pot them in anyway, which is like the rock, the chunky bark, chunky perlite, that sort of thing. Nice non-water retentive mix, but that's a really cute one. And then lucky last, I'm a sucker for yellow things as well. Love the little yellow sarcs. So this one is Kulnura Duet Golden Spark cross Kulnura Taser Bethany. There you go. beautiful little one. There's 2 little spikes on this one. It's very root pot bound as well. You can, I'm dropping mix all over the floor. That's great. It's very pot bound as well, and it's sort of squished itself in its little pot. So this one is due for a repot as soon as it finishes flowering. I'm just going to let it finish flowering so that I can enjoy them, and then that will be straight into my next thing to repot. So yeah, that's everything from my haul over the past 2 weeks. I really hope you enjoyed today's video. Please give me a like and drop a nice comment below if you want to. Also subscribe to my channel for more videos like this, more orchid content, and let me know down below if there's anything in particular you'd like me to cover. I must stress, I'm still an amateur, a novice grower. I have really only been growing for a couple of years, but whatever I've learnt is by trial and error and any sort of reading online. So if I can even give you a little bit of a tip or just inspire you to get into orchids, start your own collection or expand the collection you've already got going, that would be amazing too. So thanks again. I hope you have a really lovely day, and I'll see you in my next video. Bye!